Tony. Do you have what it takes to join the Shred Club?
What is up, guys? How are we doing? Awesome hoodie, thank you so much. Man, I'm excited for today. Who's hyped for this special guest edition? Hey man, joined in after many weeks. Where have you been? Where have you been? Oh, let's just get straight into some tracks, get ourselves warmed up. Who knows this track? You guys know this one? Yo, yo. Professional guitar. Well, we are all professional guitar champions. Is going down. Here we go. Or gain. What we're gonna do? Reverb. Clean or gain. Clean. Octave. guys are keeping me on my toes. I didn't see an octaver tapping. There's the tapping. There you go, you got your diminished right at the end. Woo! Man, I'm warmed up. I was like, I need one track to warm us up, and we did it very quickly. Man. Whew. The Type X got me hyped. But I feel like we should switcheroo a little bit. And if you're watching over on Facebook and YouTube on the Fishman channels, you're like, what the hell is going on? Well, this is Shred Club, and today we've got a very, very special guest. So in a little bit, we're gonna bring that very, very special guest on. Who knows who it is? Who knows the name who's joining us today? You guys, you're paying attention. I know you know the name. A very cool guitarist. Who's gonna get it? Lewie, that is right. What about the surname? Lewie Allen, of course. Exactly, you guys got it. Guys, everybody that has been smashing those channel points here on Twitch, we've given out some really cool D'Addario stuff. I'm really, really liking that. So keep those channel points coming in, keep growing, keep the views coming. And at the end of today's stream, I'm gonna do another D'Addario giveaway. That's it. I wasn't planning on it, but you guys are awesome. So we're gonna do another D'Addario giveaway, and it could be a piece of hardware, it could be an awesome Planet Waves cable, could be some awesome strings. But we're gonna make it happen today. So keep rocking into the channel, keep the channel points coming. And I think for now, let's play one more track before we start getting Lewie on here. What we got here? Yeah, a little bit of Distorted Dreams. How does that sound for everybody? Cool riffs. Thank you, Peter, over on Facebook. Thanks for hanging with us today. Yeah. And everybody that's commenting on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our own Twitch channel, I can see them. So if you're watching on the Fishman channels right now, do leave a comment. If you've got any questions about the gear, about the pickups, we'll be geeking out in a little bit. And yeah, big news today as well. Neural DSP with that new release. Man, you guys might recognize this. I'm sorry, I've been teasing that one for a couple of weeks. Maybe 2-3 weeks now. Thanks for the Instagram warning, almost missed it. You don't want to do that. Let's play a track.
I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to do it no more.
A track called Distorted Dreams. Reverb time. Get to the chopper already?
It's somebody else's dream.
Who said get to the chopper? Who said that? I know, right? This is very dangerous. That is right. But today we are definitely headed to Shred Club to chat to our special guest today. I'm excited. Really, really, really excited. That's right. It's on autopilot. Of course it's on autopilot, I think. We'll find out soon. It's actually quite interesting playing guitar, being able to look at the fretboard. It makes a change. I like it. I like being able to see where we are going to. The Shredcopter, it's still looking fine. Still averaging 300 meters per gallon. It's not very efficient, but we're looking to improve that. Sajat, what have we got there? Sajato with a sub, thank you. Also Richard Newell with a sub earlier, thank you guys so much. I noticed there was another sub a little bit earlier as well. We'll find out who that was. Thank you guys, appreciate that. So, needs a wash. Tony better get on that wash. We've never seen Tony in a while. I don't know where Tony's gone. Maybe he's just gone AWOL, he's had enough. I'll tell you what happened to Tony. Tony started his own Twitch channel. He's like, that's it, I've had enough. McRocklin and 600 guitars a week. That game is over. That's it, it's game over. What a whammy teaser. Good to see JB. Sounds like we've got a future Nova 9 track playing in the background here, and I dig it. I dig that. Nice and happy. Very, very, very. Can you try chopper. I mean, what does a chopper sound like? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's with an octave wrong? I have no idea what a chopper sounds like. Yeah, it's like got that low rumble. You could do like a metal rumble. Yes, we need chili mod. We need to do that. That is a good reminder. Yeah, that'll do. In fact, you know, if you did sit down and your helicopter, your pilot starts up the chopper and it starts sounding like this, I think we would all be a little bit worried. Man, whew. All right, let's get downstairs. Let's start getting set up for today's special guest. I'll get the brush out, you know, make sure the chairs are nice and clean. We don't want to give a bad first impression, right? Let's do it. So, cat out the bag. Who saw the new Neural DSP release today? Back. No more back to the chopper, Peter. Peter, later. Yeah, I'm excited because that new Neural DSP, the Gojira that got released today, there's a couple of things that I've wanted for a very long time in that plugin, and you guys will see in my video tomorrow. It's a fantastic plugin. That is it, the new Gojira plugin. Very versatile. You would not believe how versatile it is. I fully thought, yeah, it's going to be metal, it's going to be that. How wrong was I? Heavy tones, Richard! Heavy tones indeed. So, all right, well, we're gonna go take a seat. We're gonna get our man in here. So let me put down this guitar and keep those questions coming in the comments, guys. Keep them coming. And what we shall do is we'll go through as many as we can. But for now, I need to do something very important. I need to get my earpieces on. Octave, phaser, pitch, shifter. You're damn right. You're damn right. Yeah, the shimmer is very, very good as well. Okay, give me 2 seconds there, Louis. We'll get you in here, buddy. Give me 2 seconds. How long do you play guitar? As long as I can, but unfortunately it's not as long as I'd like. So busy with lots of different things, but when I focus on guitar, I try and get a good 3-4 hours a day, but it's been a hell of a long time. Many, many months since I've had a good 3-4 hours a day. But I have done one thing recently, which I'm glad about. I put a guitar in my living room, and now every time I'm in my living room, I get to practice my old school repeating patterns. You know, the kind that kind of drive you mad, that like 3 forward, 1 back, 3. You know, all those kind of patterns. Any pattern like that just drives you mad. So I do that. Music production streams. Well, funny enough, Joey, big things are coming next week onwards. Stay tuned. We are going to shake things up on the stream. We've got some brand new things happening, some new routines, and some very, very new things. So let's head over here to the guest studio. All right, let me bring a little track on whilst we set things up here. Okay, we're gonna bring our special guest in. So guys, joining me on today is a fantastic guitar player, hell of a guy. I actually recently discovered him in an unusual way, which we'll get into in the conversation. Now I'm gonna drop him into the stream here, and we'll see if it works. Looks like he is here. He's ready. He's doing press-ups. Can you believe it? He's got 30 kgs dumbbells, and he's pumping himself up. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It is Lewie Allen.
Hello, mate.
Hello. We did a very brief sound check earlier, and we both were like, this is just really weird because, like, where are you? Oh, he's up there. But I'm like looking in a totally different direction. Yeah. So, how are you doing?
I'm alright, mate. Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah. Like I said, a little bit
good?
breath, just stuck the dumbbells down, but I'm good.
Oh, man. It is freezing here in the UK. I've just actually, taken a little bit of a... Well, it's so hot in here in the studio, so I've just got those windows open and it's cooling it down, but I can just tell it is absolutely Baltic. Whereabouts are you based?
So I'm Southampton. You sent me a video the other day of the snow up where you are, and it's not quite reached. So I'm Southampton, which is like south coast of England, and obviously you're north, so it didn't quite reach down here, but it is still, I think it's still like...
It's chilly. It's
freezing.
chilly. Cool. Right, well, everybody, how are we doing on levels? Do we need any more volume? For Lewie, or are we okay? You guys let me know, and then we'll crack on. There we go. Hi, Lewie, big fan. Awesome. Sounds perfect.
Good.
That sounds good to me. So, man, it is good. I mean, we've been chatting on Instagram for like a couple of months or so, and we've never spoke on the phone. We've done nothing. So it's really, really good to actually have some back and forth, see your face, hear your voice, and talk to you.
We jumped on earlier, like in the sound check, and it was one of those where we had to cut it short because I think we'd have probably still been talking now if we did get.
I know, and then I think because the way I discovered you, I was looking at some gear stuff, and then I stumbled on this Instagram post, and I was like, oh wow, that's just surreal. I think it might have been a picture when there was like a rack of AMS reverbs or something from like, I don't know, like Abbey Road or some studio. And I was just like, oh, that's it just like completely took me back. And I think we both maybe had the same appreciation for like seeing such a quantity of legendary gear just like racked up. I was like, oh yeah.
So the funny thing about that, Thomas, was I remember now you commenting on that. That was at Abbey Road, and funnily enough, that picture, you know, they had like racks and racks of these, just like it's like almost desert island rack gear, wasn't it? And the funny thing is that was as you came out of the toilets in Abbey Road. That was right. It wasn't even being used.
That's so typical, isn't it? So typical. I remember hearing if it was the AMS reverbs. And it's still one of the hardest type of reverbs to get in software as well. I think Universal Audio do one, but it's a very, very tricky reverb to do. And it's one of my favorites, and I just seen like a pile of them there. Now that you've said that they're outside the toilet, oh man.
Well, there was a security there as well. I sort of said to him, "Oh, you won't miss like one of these, will you?" And like literally, there's probably 7 or 8 of them there, Thomas. It's criminal, really. They're not being used.
Listen, me and you, we need to get our COVID masks on and make a little midnight trip down to Abbey Road and get just 2 or 3 each. We'll leave it at that.
We'll discuss the finer details off of the live stream, but yeah, I'm totally up for that.
Cool. So, would you say you are a big gear nut? I mean, I think a lot of guitarists are, but is that something? Are you into gear and hardware? Is that your thing? You like that sort of thing? Or?
I saw a video of you the other day, actually. I think it was on your Instagram, where you just sort of panned across your computer screen. You had loads of Stephen Slate stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is like my clone. He's into this. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you can see there, but I've got like, try and move that away, but it's like, I've got all my rack stuff there, which is like,
is that some Pultec stuff?
Yeah, and there's behind as well. I'll try and spin the lappy round quickly as well, but
yeah,
I've got bits in like here as well. I've got some compressors and stuff, and it's. Do you know what?
Wow.
Do you know what? It kind of reminds me of like pedals and stuff. So you know, like sort of collecting different types of pedals and everything. Like it's the same kind of thing. When you get into like recording guitar and sort of doing studio stuff, you get that same feeling from good quality gear. And I was, you know, the thing with the studio stuff is it's not like pedal price, is it? You can add a 0 on the end to
quite
that stuff.
easily, yeah, and then some, you know, especially if you're going, you know, for the real boutique stuff, not cheap stuff. I got caught out a little bit with getting hooked onto like lunch boxes a little while back, but.
Dude, where's the lunch box? I've got. Actually, I think a friend of mine's borrowed it. Actually, I've got a lunchbox. That's expensive as well, man. Yeah,
it gets real pricey real quick. But very cool. But now my setup is like predominantly, apart from some of my guitar gear, a lot of it is in software, which I'm somewhat thankful that the software is caught up. As you know, I think there's always going to be hardware that people just are going to go to over software, and we'd always probably choose the real thing over the software. But I think now, I mean, we can get some great mixes in the boxes, and I'm sure probably a lot of the top 100 on Spotify is mixed in the box as well. And it's kind of, it hasn't got me wanting and kind of thinking, right, I need a pair of this, or I need a pair of this, you know. But Awesome stuff there. I do miss, I actually got rid of all of my rack gear in one hit. I actually put it all in the back of a transit van, and one guy bought the entire, like, it was literally 50 U's of rack equipment. I kid you not. 2 huge racks, about 24 U each. Then I was just driving the van, and I didn't even like stable them. I'm so dumb. I think I was just so hyped that I just got rid of the whole lot at the same time. But yeah, that was like a surreal moment, because that was like, all right, now I'm gonna go to TC Power Core, and then I had some issues there, and then I discovered Universal Audio stuff and all of that stuff, you know. So yeah,
actually, you sort of nailed it earlier. It's the playoff between having to set it all up. I've got a couple of patch bays down there, which is okay, but like, you know, it only takes one cable to stop working, and then you're kind of hunting for the reason why it won't work, or the reason why there's a slightly less level on the left side or something. And you said it right there, you know, when you discover some of like the Universal Audio stuff, you know, there is a difference, but it's the playoff between having to wrestle tons of cable and loads of outboard and loads of power supplies with just, you know, plugging in this. I've got like a Universal Audio satellite, you know, and they sound so good, and it is. Yeah. I'm the same with you now. You know, for some bits that I do in some of the videos and stuff, I just use it in the box, because, you know, by the time I've got the outboard set up and it's been converted to go online or whatever, or it's been converted to MP3, you know, like, you probably won't notice the difference. I mean, I'd struggle to notice the difference. So then, you know, someone that's kind of listening to it, they're definitely not going to notice the difference. And I get it. It's like it is a pride thing almost with the outboard, because I want to make the use of it, but it is hard to justify spending that amount of time sort of getting involved with it, you know, like unless you are out, and it's right in front of you.
There's another good reason to keep some of that stuff though. It warms the room up lovely.
Do you know what
I've got some valve heads, and now and again I turn them on. It's probably just the worst thing I should be doing. You know, don't tell anybody. Yeah. But I've got a couple of valve heads over there, and I'm like, okay, it's a bit cold in here. Crank that up for like 20 minutes.
There's a story actually of a friend of mine he mixes damn stuff, and he had this huge like 100-channel, I think it was like an old Neve or SSL desk, and he sold it in the end. And I was like, why did you sell it? You know, because he still sort of mixes really big records and stuff. And he's like, well, the problem with it is, you know, in his studio it was so hot in the studio that he had to have like an air conditioner put in, and the problem with that is that his like electricity bills every month were just absolutely off the scale, where he was paying for this huge power supply desk and then the air conditioning to go with it. And he was like, you know, you either pay a huge electricity bill or you sit there in your underwear and sweat. And
that's brutal.
Yeah,
brutal. So do you feel the same way about guitar products? And you know, I see you've got like killer guitar amps, but you use a Helix with the touring side of things. So what's your opinion on the real amps versus modelers these days? You know, which way do you kind of fall?
So again, that's a bit of a it's a kind of a bit of a fight with so for example, take someone like Sam, for example. When I first started playing for them, I used a couple of Marshall heads. Like it was one of these actually, with the little 2x12 cabs, and I really wanted to do it properly. I wanted to have like a pedal board with the analog stuff, and it sounded great. It sounded amazing. But then I started to kind of have little conversations with the production manager, who was like, "Oh, you know, we'd quite like to have a quiet stage for the next tour. How do you feel about using Helix?" Okay. Yeah, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing it. And this is like 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And so I did the first tour with some Marshalls, but then halfway through the tour, I was kind of messing with the Helix in the dressing room and sort of playing around with it. And I think for me, initially, it was a reluctance to really get into the nuts and bolts of like what those sort of digital modeling boards and like Helixes and Kempers did. Yeah. But once I actually started really fiddling with them, you know, they're really, really good, and they sound really, really good. And it just started to become more and more apparent that there was a lot more pros with using something like the Helix than with the amps. You know, again, a bit like the outboard stuff, I would start noticing like one of the amps in my right ear becoming a bit dull, where the tubes start going halfway through the tour, and we had to send a couple of bits off to get fixed, just because, you know, like moving all of those flight cases, you know, you get like local crew, and they sort of don't care so much about your gear as you do, so they're sort of slinging these cases around, and a lot of my amps sort of got damaged on the road, and so there was a lot of reasons. And again, you know, getting back to your question, there's always going to be a difference. For me, there will always be a part of me that thinks valve amps are just better. And I don't know what that is. I don't know whether it's because it's moving air in the room, or it's, I don't know, or if it is actually, or if it does sound better. So there'll always be a part of me that will always kind of gravitate to that. But again, you know, the more I mess with the Helix, the better it sort of sounds. And I've actually used a couple of bits of outboard with the Helix for certainly some rehearsals. So
good shout, because I had a Helix for a little while, and actually unfortunately got rid of mine before the later firmwares and the newer features and the newer amps came around. But I also used the send and returns, and I tried to wire an overdrive, I think the precision drive in the front end, and use like some Strymon stuff on the back, because was there like 2 sets of send and returns on it or something?
Yeah, there's 2 lots of send and returns, and again, you know, there's so many different options that you can reroute stuff. And I ended up putting it through like a Warm Audio 1073 stereo thing, and it was really cool. You know, I sort of use that in like a rack, like a flight box. Where I've got like a 4U rack. I put like the Helix rack in it with the 1073 thing, and it does sound really good. I don't know if that's just my brain telling me it sounds better, or if it actually does sound better. But for my ears, it did add a bit more of a kind of realness edge to it. But again, you know, laziness comes into it, and then, you know, I've done some things with like Liam and stuff where I just use the Helix, and I don't think I miss it really. But again, it's nice to have those kind of physical knobs to turn. And
I think that, you know, as you touched on, the convenience and the fact that, I mean, a digital product, you know, let's say, I mean, you're 3,000 miles from home, something like a Helix you can get pretty much in every country in the world, I'd imagine. And if you've got those patches backed up, you're going to be back up and running pretty damn quick, other than trying to get a boutique or a valve head and, you know, shipping that around. It's just like, So, in those environments...
it's a common joke kind of in on that touring circuit that, you know, using stuff like I've got a divided by 13 head. It's honestly one of the best amps I think I've ever heard, and I did use that for a lot of stuff up until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But there was always that thing, you go to like someone like Bulgaria, and you put like divided by 13 on the rider, they don't know what you're talking about, so you always end up with a Fender twin.
I can imagine that, yeah.
So you've got to that point, you know, you're thinking, oh, Helix, you know, it's just, you know, I got my sounds there, and like the same as you said, you can get Helix anywhere. Any country in the world will have one of those that you can, you know, they'll rent you, and it'll be exactly what you were used to in your in-ears. And yeah, I got sort of sick of just turning up and there being like a late 90s Fender twin with all the knobs missing.
Yeah. That is funny, too funny. So you mentioned briefly earlier, and I was like, stop, because I wanna know how it works and how it sounds. So for those moments when you do just want to use your favorite old Marshall, or you know, there's something about a Plexi or a certain Marshall, you know, that maybe they take pedals in a certain way. So for those moments, do you use like a load box? What's your setup, or do you just put a mic in front of the cab? How do you approach that? So
we used to put a mic in front of it, but again, just with like, you know, with some artists you play with, there'll be like loads of BVs on stage. So there's like, and the drums will be mic'd up, and there'll be so many mics on the stage that a screaming Marshall will just absolutely, you know, it will just go down everyone's mic, and you'll be constantly told to turn down. So that got pretty old pretty quickly. So we tried a few things with the Marshalls. again, I had the Helix there. This was kind of in my Helix defiance phase where I was like, absolutely not. But we had a company, and again, this is what we sort of spoke about earlier, a company called Two Note, and they make sort of rack-mounted. I guess they're like load boxes with speaker simulations in there as well.
Great,
so you got 100 speaker simulations that you can kind of pick, and your amp goes into that, and then it's all silent. And it does actually, they do sound really, really good. The problems that I had with it though was sort of finding the right cabs, because I think with a lot of that technology stuff, they tend to really colour the sound a lot more than probably real speakers would. And I don't know whether that's like a thing that they do on purpose on the design side of it, where they make it super colourful to show, oh, you know, this cab, it's a jazz chorus cab, or this is a greenback speaker in a Marshall cab. But I found that it took me a while to find the right cabs that sounded right with the heads. But after that, they were great. And so there was a period of time where I was using 2 torpedoes. They're actually down there. I don't know if you can, just in the rack there. So it's that thing.
There we go. Right. Yeah. Tasty.
Yeah. Yes.
Man.
And they are really good. But again, it's one of those where the more I kind of use the digital modeling, like the Helix and stuff, it's just more gear to bring. And again, like those valve heads, as you know, they're not light. They're older and creepy.
Absolutely. We're so similar in the way we think and tone and stuff, because I have a Boss tube amp expander, which is a fantastic load box, and it acts very much in a similar way to probably some of the Two Notes products. Yeah. But I'm very like you said, where the stock cab responses, I go through a bunch of them, and it's just like, it just doesn't do it. And then I load, say, some of my favorite, maybe it's an own Hammer one or some IRs that I've used for a while, and instantly it's like, all right, that's fantastic. And it just, like, flipping through those impulse responses, it just has such a massive impact on the sound. And it's like, I imagine it kind of like going through presets on a digital product. You might go through 20 presets on a Helix, but none of them are really your thing, and they haven't been dialed in. And you might, in a store, if you got 10 minutes, you might have a bit of a it's not for me kind of reaction. But really, when you start pulling it apart and just start with, all right, this amp, this overdrive, this cab, and just start from the ground up, it's a much better way of working. Looks like a friend of yours, Quinny, is asking over on Twitch, hey Louis, question for you, bro. When you compose solos, do you use theory to make sense of the composition, or do you go by feel, or both? Big love. P.S. Don't buy an ISO cab that doesn't fit in your house, Quinny.
That guy, Quinton, is an absolutely incredible guitarist. Actually, he's the brother of a guy that used to tech for me, and they're such a talented family. Like Tori, he's an amazing drummer, an amazing guitarist, and Quinton is absolute beast as well.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for hanging with us, Quinny, today. Anyway, so sorry for interrupting you there, Louis, but thanks for hanging out with us. And good question though. So I'd be interested. What is your approach on that?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know what I'm doing when I'm soloing. I don't know a crazy amount of theory. I kind of know like the major scale and the pentatonic scale, but I guess like it's hard to explain. I sort of try and do a lot of stuff from like feel. So like with like, so I'll try and mess around with like the pentatonic scale a lot, and then kind of add little notes in. And I'm quite a fan of chromatic stuff. I don't think not because I know or understand what chromatics are. I just kind of like the sound of them when you sort of like. And then I guess I'm sort of a bluesy kind of bassist, but I'm definitely not like, theory is not my strong point. So I guess I'd approach it from sort of a melody place really, and then kind of build, like I'll have some licks that I like to play, and then I'll kind of sort of intertwine those around just like vocally melody sorts of stuff and like bluesy bends and that. But certainly if I'll try and feel it as much as I can and sort of sit down.
A good ear and a palette for like melody over theory any
Yeah.
day. It doesn't. If you've got a good set of ears,
Yeah.
man, I mean, it's like that is so crucial. I think a lot of people, they get obsessed in theory, but are still unable to like express themselves, even though they have like tons of options now, or the melody's just not that creative. But you mentioned one thing, and I was like, all right, you're definitely my bro now, and Chromatics, because Chromatics is like my middle name. Everybody in here will be like, oh, that's it. It's all over. I love Chromatics.
Yeah, actually, all of your videos, whenever you do that, I'm just like save, video that. So yeah, it's
Love it.
again, for me, it's one of those like they're good ways to kind of transition. And I don't like guitarists like Wayne Krantz and stuff. Like I love playing like that, where it's kind of jazzy, but it's got a real rocky approach, and it's quite aggressive with the approach to the solo, and the sounds aggressive, and I really like.
That's great.
So,
yeah, Chromatics are just awesome. My favorite fill. Just anytime there's a sensible or semi-sensible opportunity for some chromaticism, I'm there, running it up and down. So when did you start playing guitar? How old were you? How did it all come about? Like how did you just go from like, oh, I don't play guitar, to having a guitar, and how did it all start?
So it was my dad used to have a guitar just kind of kicking around. He used to you might do you remember those guitars? They were called K, and it was like a little circle with KAY written in it. They used to make like acoustic.
Yes.
So my dad used to have one of those kicking around, and I was never allowed to touch it as a kid. I could not touch that guitar. I'd be a massive trouble if I touched it. But I can't work out now if it's like a reverse psychology thing where he wanted me to pick it up, but I would try and grab it whenever I could and just kind of like strum the strings. And I love the feel of it and everything. And I guess when I got my own real guitar, it was like a 3/4 size Hohner Strat thing, and I guess I must have been like maybe 7 or 8 at the time. And I just messed around with it for a bit, and then got lessons in secondary school. So I guess at like 11 years old, started properly sort of learning, guitar and stuff. But I don't ever think it took me a long time. I think I must have been about maybe 18 or 19 before I really sort of started taking it seriously. I could play before. My dad used to take me to like blues. I used to work in a guitar shop when I was like 11, 12. I was like the Saturday boy to make tea for everyone and stuff. And
nice, yeah,
I was that guy. And I used to do like, gigs that my bosses couldn't be bothered to do. I'd sort of be like, oh, I'll do it. And I played with some really horrific like blues and country bands. There was one time actually where I said I'd do this gig, and I couldn't have been any older than maybe like 14 or 15, and it was in Bournemouth, which is about 30 miles from where I live. Well, I used to live here and obviously live here again. My parents dropped me off there, and something was wrong immediately. There were like people wearing like cowboys and Indians outfits and stuff in there, and I was like, okay. And at the time I was like, Van Halen, John Sykes. That's what I wanted to be John Sykes from Whitesnake at the time, and sort of setting up my gear and everything. And then it became very clear very quickly that it was a line dancing gig, and we'd be playing like a tune. And then the guy would be like, oh, stop, we just got to learn the next move. And they would genuinely like start learning these line dancing moves. And I think I played Achy Breaky Heart for about 57 minutes that night. So yeah, like I would do a little bit like that when I was sort of growing up, but I don't, I must have been maybe 18 or 19 before I actually really started thinking, okay, maybe I can sort of do this for a job or something, because before that I was like doing some electrical work and kind of just bumming around, and I don't think I ever really, and I think that's why my theory isn't that great really, is because I didn't really ever take guitar that seriously until that time. So but at that time it's I would sort of had my kind of set licks that I would play, and I don't think the theory would have sort of helped me at that point anyway. So yeah, it was kind of mad. Yeah, I just sort of tried to copy people when I was.
But that's a good thing, And I think a lot of people, what really rubs me up these days is if I post a lick to Insta, and it comes and goes, this one, but the first thing that people ask for is tabs, and it
Yeah.
might just be like literally a half a bar, because a lot of my Instagram licks, are like 3-4 seconds. So me and you back in the day were probably using our ears and trying to just figure it out, and okay, that's about that, and then we put our own spin on it. But I think a lot of guitarists these days, they're very quick to like just call for tabs, and that kind of way of thinking, as opposed to just watching the video. Okay, I've got that close enough, and we can really take the rest from ears.
You've absolutely nailed it there. I firmly believe that. Let's take an example. If you play a lick, if I copy that lick, I find if I use my ears, you nailed it. You come up with your own interpretation of that lick, and then that's how I firmly believe you develop your own sound as a guitarist. Everyone's like, oh, you sound like you, which I think is one of the most important things on guitar. I think to sound like yourself is the most important thing. So learning licks that way and just kind of getting close approximations of what a lick is, and then make it your own. I think that is one of the most important things. And you're right. I love Instagram and I love flicking through the guitar players and feeling like I want to kill myself and just quit guitar playing. But there's tons of people out there that they are, and this is not a bad thing, but it's not something I'm necessarily into. They sort of sound like Instagram guitarists, because you can be like, oh, that lick is Mateus Asato, or that lick is whoever, and I think that's so important. But you've absolutely nailed it there, and it's one of those things that it's kind of lost a little bit with the whole tab and YouTube time, because I don't know about you, but I used to have to listen to like records and stuff and try and work them out by ear. But again, that's made like people like you sound like McRocklin. No one sounds like you, because you've worked all those licks out yourself and you've made them your own. And I think.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's really cool. So you really stopped picking up about 18, 19.
Yeah.
And when does the big something game changing come, where you think, oh, actually this is what I want to do for the rest of it now. I really want to be a guitarist for a living. What point does that come?
So that was I was doing bits and pieces with an originals band at the time, and it was kind of like an indie rocky. I wanted to be like in Block Party when I was 17. Nice. I wanted to be in Block Party. And, I was in a band doing that kind of thing, and it got to a point in the band where sort of the drummer wanted to do their own thing and the singer wanted to do their own thing, and it just kind of split apart. And I really enjoyed doing the gigs and everything, and we were sort of doing local gigs, and we were kind of on that unsigned circuit in London doing that sort of thing. But what came with that is we'd sort of do a few jam sessions, and there was some cool jam sessions happening in central London at that time. So we'd sort of drive up and play as a band. And when my originals band, I guess I must have been about 19, 20, when that sort of came to pieces, I didn't want to stop doing it. But at this point, I didn't really ever feel like, I didn't know about session guitar. I didn't know about that you could play with these artists. Right. It never really clicked in my head that was a job. But I knew that I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing, which was playing to people in bands and stuff. So I would go to these jam sessions with some mates and stuff, and then you'd get up with a house band and play with some singers, and it got to the point where I was playing in the house band for a couple of these jam sessions, just sort of meeting people. And then I started to realise that some of the people that were coming to these jam sessions were musical directors for artists and like West End stuff, and like pop acts and legacy acts and stuff. And it was through playing at those jam sessions and getting up and sort of just being in people's minds and playing guitar, and that I got asked to play for a couple of people. And there was one artist, I can't remember her name, but she was the wife of a friend of mine who was a really cool drummer. And he was like, look, we've got some rehearsals, she's got a tour, do you want to come and play guitar? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he was like, oh, the money's not great, I can't, it's only going to be like £75 a rehearsal. And I remember thinking, you're going to pay me for rehearsals? like to rehearse a song. You've been paying me for that. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, listen, I'm in. Let's do this. So I did that, and then through that I met a couple of other guys, and I guess the first real gig that I sort of got was so there was a jam session which was actually in Southampton as well, and there was a couple of artists that came down from London. There was a girl called Terry Walker who was like an R&B singer, and she's an incredible singer. Like bits on guitar for her, met a few people, but I think the first real sort of session gig that I got live was with a girl called VV Brown, and she was probably around, I mean, this is probably like 2007, 2008 now, and she had an album to come out, she'd been signed, and she was getting quite decent backing from the label. She had like management and stuff, and they were paying us fairly good money as well. I was like, oh, great, okay, cool, you're going to pay me for this. And all the time, I didn't really think about sort of money in the whole career side of things. I just knew that I wanted to play guitar. And so I was like, cool, I'll do it. And honestly, Thomas, from that point, I guess I've been really lucky in what I've done. Whenever I've sort of come to a point, like at the end of the gig, like I said, at the end of VV Brown's sort of go at trying to sort of make it, I got a shout from a girl who just was starting out called Pixie Lott. And at the time, kind of not doing anything. She'd just been signed. She didn't have any singles out or any music out at all. And I was like, yeah, cool, let's do that. That sounds good. And then the next week, she's got a #1 with, I think it was Mamadou. And then I remember thinking, oh, hang on a sec, I'm playing guitar for this girl that's just got a #1, like. And then we did a whole tour, and before I knew it, we were supporting Rihanna, like on tour. Like I was like, oh my god, yeah, dude. Like, and there was the most surreal moment of my life, and I always think about it. I think it's one of the coolest moments of my life, other than getting married. In case my wife is watching this. I was sound checking for Pixie, and I looked up, and Nuno Betancourt and another guy called Adam Ross, who's an absolutely ridiculous guitar player, were both watching me like this in sound check. And I just remember getting really sweaty and really hot and being like, oh, almost like apologising to them. Like, oh, sorry, like, and they were like, no, cool, we're just watching you. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is the coolest moment of my life ever. Like, Nuno Betancourt's like one of my, probably top 5 guitarists for me.
He's amazing.
And he's just watching me play, like, so that was cool. And then, from there, it kind of, I would just sort of get offered bits and pieces off the back of this, and the more people I sort of got to know, the more they sort of got to know that I was a guitar player who could go on tour, and a lot of it was sort of just being able to get on with everyone, and not being a hassle, and having good gear. And my gear was terrible at the start, like, it was awful,
but it came good in the end. So that's awesome. So I see your main guitars is Yamaha, is that right?
Yeah.
And
so
you should be briefly earlier. That like, I just remember seeing the Flame Maple or something. I was like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah, so it's probably only about a year ago now. Yamaha asked me, like, basically because I've been using like loads of different electrics, like, and I think like part of it is just, part of me has always kind of wanted to play different guitars, because you always want loads of guitars as a guitarist, don't you? You just want, like,
yeah, absolutely.
Part of it was kind of not really ever being happy with what I was playing as well. Like, there was part of me that there was always something about a guitar that I was playing that I didn't quite like. And Yamaha were like, look, what could we have a go at making you something that would do everything, so that you could just use this guitar for everything. And I was like, yeah, cool. By all means, have a go. Thinking in my mind, this is not going to work. Like, there's no way they can make a guitar for me that I will use for everything. And I said, I gave them a list of sort of some bits that I kind of wanted from a guitar. I wanted it to look good and have the relic thing, and I love the Telecaster shape. And Yamaha, I don't know if you remember, but Yamaha had that Mike Stern shape guitar, which was kind of reminiscent of the Telecaster.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I said, do you still make that guitar? And they still made it, and they still had like the molds for it and stuff. So I said, okay, and I don't know if it was, I don't know, like, I said to them, look, could you put something like with the GK system in there, so I can trigger MIDI with it as well, because I was doing a lot of stuff where you know, as a guitarist, I don't want to just stand there and look like a lemon when there's no guitar playing in the track. And loads of stuff on track happening. I feel a bit silly, like just stood there not doing anything. So it was one of those where I play a little bit of kind of synth on the keyboard, but if I could have a guitar, like, and again, it's probably the same for you, like, there's not really any good MIDI guitars out there for the studio, let alone for live. And you know, I've used stuff that's made for Rock Band, the game, in the studio, and like it's played for about 2 weeks, and then it breaks, and then you know back to square one. So I said to them, look, can you have a go at putting some of the, I think it was this Fishman Ghost saddles or something. I was like, could you have a go at doing that? Because I played some of the go downs and they were solid enough to be able to play live.
Yeah. Well, I use the triple play system by Fishman and one guitar, and that is fantastic. Yeah, we actually do some streams here on the Fishman channels with that as well. So, is that guitar that you have there, is that equipped with some of these technologies?
Yeah. So they put it in for me. So yeah, I said, look, you know, have a go at putting the Ghost saddles in there, stick some cool Lola pickups in it for me, relic it, like make it really cool. Like make the neck a nice wood and stuff. And they made this.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah, it's cool, and this you can see there. It's got the 13 pin, and it's cool. So cool. Honestly, Thomas, it's really, and it's got like the really cool flamed maple on the neck. You know, they've absolutely gone in on it.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And it's so light, and it just rings. It sounds so good. And
I really like light guitars as well. But yeah, that's what's the body wood on that? Do you know? So
it's Mark is going to kill me if I get this wrong, but I think it's an older body on it. It's kind of like that Fendery sort of build, really.
Yeah. It looks great though.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm just absolutely in love with it. It's just so good. And yeah, the pickups sound great. Sorry, go on.
Is that your main go-to guitar then? You just instantly, no matter what the job, you plug that in and you know you're just at home, you're good to go. Is that your approach with that guitar?
I think you've nailed it there. It's one of those, I trust this guitar. I know what I'm going to get with it. Like, it's only got the P90 in the single coil, but you know, it can rock out. It can do the country thing. It can do the cool blue stuff. And it literally can do anything, this guitar. And like I say, just with the whole MIDI side of it as well, it's you can do anything on it. So for me, they smashed it. And yeah, it genuinely is the first guitar that I go to. You know, my Les Paul and my Strat just stay on the wall now. They don't. Well, you can see it's just.
I know that feeling very well because you know I started playing headless guitars fairly recently, and I never really thought too much about playing headless guitars previously until I got to try one and I really, really liked it. And then, you know, now it's like 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to pick up a guitar, probably more than that really, it's like a headless guitar. And if it just feels right and it's just ticking all the boxes, it gives you all the different sound options, and it's a similar deal, I bet, with that Yamaha. But it looks sick though. Love that flame maple on the back. I think we almost be the same when we just see those flame maple necks. It's just like everybody's I can see the chat, like everybody's just like, oh.
I know, it just looks, and like in the back of the headstock as well, it's like, I don't know if you can see it, like, but it's just.
Oh, it goes right up. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's one of, you know what, my wife's going to kill you actually, because every time I see you with one of those Kiesels online, I'm just like, oh my God, I look so good. Like, let's finish it. Oh my God, like you were playing one earlier, and I was like, oh God, it looks so good.
They're very, very comfortable guitars. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, it's just the size, and to me, they feel like an extension of me. So it's like anything that just makes me not want to put the guitar down, I'm all for it. But yeah, Fishman pickups in all my Kiesel main headless guitars, and it's a great combination. It's just like loads of detail. And I also like light bodies, so I was interested when you were saying like your guitar was quite light to feel. And every time I kind of spec a guitar with Kiesel, I always ask them wherever they can just to pick a lighter piece of wood, You know, if you're going to be like pumping around or playing it on a strap for hours on end, might as well save your back a little bit. But
absolutely,
awesome.
mate. I think, and again, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting a little bit older, but I genuinely think that, like, I've been to some chiropractors before, and they've been like, "Oh, your left shoulder's a bit weird," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And it's almost like it's kind of, my back sort of seizes up a little bit on the left side, because it's just where it's constantly wearing like a Les Paul or something like that over the years. It's just kind of putting some like weight on my shoulder, and I genuinely think like wearing heavy guitars over the years has definitely affected something. Yeah, dude.
So with the lockdown side of things, you know, you're kind of at home. Are you do you enjoy the production and writing and all of that side of things at home? Is that something that you enjoy as well, or do you just like literally, all right, I'm going to learn these songs, I'm going to get these songs down, I'm going to do some touring now, and when you get home, it's like switch off time? Do you enjoy that side of things? Because not everybody does. They don't, you know, some people don't like the production. They don't like, you know, that kind of, that early stage of the music. Is that something that you're into as well, or not?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of been one of those things that's sort of been side by side with, I think I obviously discovered sort of guitar first, but sort of being able to record stuff and like build songs, and that's always been a passion of mine as well. So I've always really enjoyed that, and it is a bit weird, you know, when you go away on tour and then you come back, you know, normally I'll come back and I'll do nothing. I'll sit in my underwear and all day and try and recover, because it's like, you know, sometimes you can go away for like 9-10 weeks at a time, and I don't know, you're always on the clock with that. So I think there's something in your body that never really stops when you're on tour. So having this time now, it's been a bit weird, because I've I haven't managed my time properly. I don't think I've tried to be too busy, I think, with what I'm doing, but it's meant I've been really productive. And I think that's part of the reason why we met, is because I've been trying to do more of the online stuff. I really enjoy teaching, and I enjoy kind of trying to pass on information and stuff. So I do much teaching in person, I think the video stuff's really helped sort of fill that void a little bit. And certainly the production and being creative, it's kind of substitutes sort of being in rehearsals and being creative and coming up with like live arrangements and stuff. Being able to kind of record stuff in the studio and do that has definitely replaced it, albeit in a kind of different way. And it's, for me, it's like I'm trying to keep busy. I think, you know, my brain constantly whirs. So I try and put that to good use as best I can, really. But it is hard sometimes, because again, there's nothing on the horizon. You know, I was meant to do some stuff, and it's been cancelled. So, you know, I'm constantly kind of waiting for that to happen. So it is hard. But again, we're all in this boat, aren't we? We're all in this together.
Absolutely. Chili Mosh in our chat here on Twitch, he's saying he senses a guest lesson coming up for School of McRock, and everybody's like, yeah, +1 agree. So that would be awesome. That would be an awesome guest lesson. Yeah. We've had some really cool comments, actually, so I might just take a second and scroll back through them so I don't miss them. Whilst I'm going to scroll back through some, I've had some other questions come in on different platforms, and I've got some here. So whilst I scroll back, here's a question for you. What's the most memorable gig of your career? I bet that's a difficult one, but can you?
It is, but there is one that I remember, actually, and it was a really cool. It's for a really great cause as well. It was in Washington in America, and it was for a bit like Help the Heroes in this country. I think it was called Concert for Valor, which is essentially a concert for all of like the army vets in America, and it was with Jesse. And basically, we opened up the show. Jennifer Hudson sang the American National Anthem, and I don't know if do you remember in Forrest Gump when he made that speech in Washington, and it was like kind of went straight back. It was there, and genuinely, I walked on stage, and there was 1 million people in the crowd, and they had like 4 or 5 different they had like 4 or 5 different PA stacks going back, and honestly I just looked and it was just people, and I just remember stood there at the bar and like I was playing with it was an American band, so I used to sort of go around with Jessie, and when she did stuff in America and she couldn't take her English band, I'd sort of go with her to sort of represent part of the band, so she kind of had something there that she was kind of reassuring, and I just remember looking thinking, oh my god, this is and I don't really remember anything about playing. I just remember thinking, wow, that is a lot of people there.
That's insane.
And it's online somewhere, and so that was a cool one. And another one that springs to mind is I got a chance to. It was with Jessie again, actually, and I played in the house band for Jimmy Fallon, which was The Roots. So that was pretty cool. Yes, level on drums. So that was cool.
That's amazing. So drums as well.
It was it's a guy called Questlove on drums from The Roots, and he's like one of my heroes, like ridiculous producer. And at that point,
playing with good drummers is just always a great thing. I remember like growing up, and my dad was always just like trying to get me to play with different musicians, and it really helped because just bouncing off people, like some of my better ideas that came out has always been because the drummers said, put something over this, or he's just played a groove or a beat and I've just reacted to it. And it's been something that I've never played before until I've heard that beat. And just good drummers, they always seem to bring it out of me in that way. It's just like such a good feeling playing to a good drummer. It's like, really
There's
cool.
that saying that the band's only as good as the drummer. And I do believe that actually. There's I'm again lucky enough to play with some amazing drummers. I think that a good drummer is in their kind of approach is quite similar to guitar in a way, like the way they sort of attack fills and stuff. And I remember playing with a couple of guys. There's one drummer that is my favourite drummer, and he's a really good friend of mine. It's a guy called Ginger Hamilton, and he's a lovely kid. But I remember. This is embarrassing now, actually. I played for Peter Andre for a tour, and we played Mysterious Girl every night for like 3 months.
I like it. Great song. Great song. I bet you're a bit sick of it playing it every night, but it's a classic, all right? I could get into that.
Yeah, and Ginger would do stuff like I'd play like little fills and like pretend to be like Van Halen. And he would follow me on, like he would start like, and I'd be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Like he's accenting what I'm doing, my solos. Like, what the hell is this? So I all over it. Yeah,
I love that. That's great. Yeah, good drummers, man. They're just like I've never heard that saying, but it makes perfect sense. It just makes or breaks it. So that's awesome. Got a good question for you. Any unusual or any pre-gig rituals that you go through to get yourself in that zone, or is it just like, did you try and mellow out? You got a big gig coming up. What's your thing? Did you kind of just like isolate yourself? Do you do something crazy? Do you get the kettlebells out? What's your thing?
We did. So sometimes on Sam, the keyboard player, used to do like press ups, and he actually ended up getting us all into doing these press ups. Again, it's crazy. But for me personally, I kind of like a couple minutes quiet. So what I would do actually is I put my ears in and I don't plug them into my pack. I'll just have them unplugged, just block everything out. And it's one of those that no matter what you do, it's like, when you play to kind of that many people, that one mistake, everyone's videoing it, everyone's putting it online. So one mistake, it will be out there forever. So for me, just to get my head straight, I'd put my in-ears in and just kind of not sort of, we'd be waiting under the stage ready to go on. But I'd put my in-ears in and just have a little, maybe like a minute or two quiet and just kind of settle myself and get myself in the right frame of mind. But there's with Sam, they've got this really crazy ritual that we have to do before we go on stage where it's really weird. We hold hands and look into each other's eyes, and this is so weird. We go boom boom bum bum boom boom bum bum boom boom bum bum, and then that'd be it. And then and I don't know why, when I joined the band they would do that already, and I was just like, the first time I ever had to partake in this, the bassist, who's a really good friend of mine, was like, look, this is weird, this ritual, and I always thought he was joking. I was like, you're joking, right? Like, no, I can't. And then obviously it started, and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing it. And yeah, that was quite, and we did that before every single show. We did that like 119 times in 2019.
Wow, that is awesome. I love that. That is great.
That was a weird one, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. I've got a good question here from my man Andy, who's in our Discord. And if you guys are here watching the stream, don't forget you can join the Discord absolutely free and come hang out with us. We've got a great guitar community forming over there. So this is by Andy Scott. So any tips, tricks, or pieces of gear that ensure things go well on a big stage? I mean, do you just cable into your Helix and put all the trust in the Helix, because those are pretty solid devices, right? But is there anything else you bring and you know that's going to make the difference? It's going to prevent some mega stuff from blowing up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I've got a story about a gig in Russia where the long story short, that basically, you know, you get the metal grills on the front of a dual rectifier. They rented this. Yeah. It wasn't a twin this time, actually. It was a dual rectifier, and the front panel for some reason was live. It was electrically charged. And, so people were like,
I like this already.
Yeah, and on the same gig, I'm not joking you, Thomas, the stage caught fire. And the guy who, honestly, the best part about it was the guy who's gigging there, he was like a Russian oligarch, right? He didn't even turn up to his own party. He didn't turn up.
Wow.
So we just made him like his guest, and he just didn't bother. But yeah, anyway, so the good bits of gear, yeah, you're right, the Helix, you plug that in and it's bulletproof. You know, no worries there. I'd say a good bit of gear, good in-ear monitors as well. Those prices. I've been guilty of forgetting these on times for a couple of gigs, and I've had to use really subpar in-ears, and it just gives me anxiety because they start falling out and I can't hear the click properly. And so good set of in-ears. Just be prepared, like good flight cases, good quality gear. You know, it's what we were talking about earlier. Know your gear inside out. Buy good quality gear. You know, good strap locks, and you'll be fine.
Awesome. There we go, Andy. Yeah. That story with the amp, that's enough to just send you to a modeler permanently, full time. That's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. They were just. It was. I think it was Tori actually. He was like, "Yeah, just don't touch the front of the amp." And I was like, "Well, why?"
Why?
He was like, "Because it's live. You know, the front of the amp is live." I was like, "Okay, cool." It was bizarre. Like, it was a really crazy gig, and
I love it. I love it. So is any gear that you have now, like recent arrivals, things that's arrived in the post, and you're like, whew, I'm excited for this, you know, because it sounds like we're both gear nuts and we're both just like into our gear. No matter, we have our favorites and our go-tos, but I bet
I showed it to you earlier,
like that.
I showed it to you earlier, and I know you all massively appreciate this, but I got one of these.
I love that. Look at
it's
that.
so cool. So it's a delay pedal.
Okay.
I had to do a little review of it a couple of months back, and it's amazing. Like it's pretty straightforward delay pedal. Like it's got like time and amount of reverb there. I mean, I wouldn't put it on my pedal board because it's pretty delicate, but it is very, very cool. So that was really cool. But they make something else as well, actually, which I sort of mentioned to you earlier. Actually, like they sent me this pedal, and I thought it was a delay pedal when they first sort of. So it's meant to be the time circuits from Back to the Future. I'm a massive Back to the Future. Wow. I know you're a massive Back to the Future.
I absolutely am. Yeah.
Like you're DeLorean in the background. So, but yeah. So they sent to me, and it's called Time Box. I thought, it's another delay pedal. We'll give it a go. And then I opened it, and what was strange about it, I sort of was. It doesn't work anymore anyway.
It's all right. It's a one-off prototype. It's dead.
Yeah, it's fine.
Kill the cameras. Call the wife quickly. Oh my god.
Sorry. So I was looking at it and I was thinking, well, where do the cables go in it? Like that's a power supply. Where do the cables go in it?
True. So what is it? Where is it? What?
Yeah, what is it? So anyway, I can plug it in quickly so I can show you. I just dropped it again, by the way.
Oh gosh.
So when you plug it in, it does a cool little light thing actually, which you'll appreciate if it works. Oh, can't see it there. Ready? Oh, there you go. She's doing something now.
Oh wow!
So,
there we go. Yeah.
There you go. So what
That is
it actually is, it's a clock and it's a timer. Now, when I was like, what the hell would I use this for? Like, why would I use a timer as a pedal? But it's actually cool. Like, so for me, like little things like, you know, if you're in a rehearsal and you've got to like come up with a little segue or something, and they're like, oh, you know, we need this bit to be like 4 minutes so that Sam can go and get changed into another outfit or whatever. It's cool that it's something on your pedal without sort of getting my phone out and like, you know, like pushing start stuff on my phone and then playing. Or like if you're in a sound check at a festival or something and you've only got like 20 minutes to sound check. It's got a clock on it and then it's got like the little,
okay.
Start timing. So it's not
gotcha,
for people like who play guitar in general, it's probably not that useful, but for people like yourself and me, it's actually quite cool. Like it's a cool little idea. Like crazy expensive, and you know, I'd probably just buy it for the lights on it as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks legit. That's the thing as well, and I think that's like that sells it. You know, that's all we need.
Yeah. So that was a cool like sort of pedal that isn't really a pedal. That is a pedal. Yeah.
7-string Journey runs off a 9 gigawatt battery.
I definitely think there's some sort of like the back plate's shifted a little bit. I think where I've modified it on the floor.
Yeah.
But
okay. Awesome. So yeah, those guys seem like I love that kind of the nostalgic and the quirkiness. I've got to give them a shout. Those they've popped up on my Instagram feed so many times. I think I follow them on Instagram. And I think things are, you know, little things like that, it does bring joy to us guitarists, I'm sure, because it just satisfies our nostalgia as well. That's two very, very cool pedals.
Yeah, they're cool.
Oh man, flux capacitor is what Commando's, well, that could be their next product, the flux capacitor. Didn't actually somebody do a distortion pedal that was the flux capacitor? And I'm sure I saw
it rings
that
a bell,
once.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they've got like a bill that's like a fuzz pedal and...
Yeah, I saw that. Is that the same company, is it?
Yeah.
Right, I've definitely got to send them a message. One of everything.
Oh,
that's what we need.
They would love you. They've got it's, you know, like the Scooby-Doo van. They've got one of those as well. That's I think it's a chorus pedal or something. But they do really cool stuff.
That is so epic. Cool. Here we go. I'm catching up with the comments here as well. We had a poll going on earlier, apparently, which I actually I didn't catch. So we're going to see if they got it right. One of the votes or polls was, do you have more or less than 10 guitars is what I believe the poll was. Prediction has ended. Okay, so Harlan, who's one of the mods here, and top awesome guy as well. I think, did you start that poll and how many people got it right and how many people got it wrong? So we'll find that out in just a second. But I'm intrigued now.
You're intrigued?
Is the guitar collection big? Is it like, how big is it?
Yeah, it is big.
In a word.
Yeah, I'm just so... My father-in-law actually came around a couple of weeks ago. Hi Peter, if you're watching. And he came into the studio and he was like, like every time I come in this room, there's more guitars in here. But obviously, there's like when you go on tour, you have like I've got some guitars of Liam's people, got some guitars of like Sam's people. But I've in this room at the moment, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Oh.
There's 50 in this room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
So you guys have already lost out. You've already whoever voted below 10. That is
Sorry
it. You're
about
out. So do you tend to leave guitars just with like certain bands and crews out of interest? Is that something that you do?
Yeah. Sometimes I mean with some, some artists they're very reluctant to break the gear down. So like with like Sam, everything's like all of the amps. When I was using the Marshalls, they were all in like this huge 7-foot tall rack case. All of my pedals are in drawers. All the guitars are in a big sort of guitar wardrobe thing. And they're because of the sort of short amount of time, we'd go away and do one leg of a tour and then come back for like 2 weeks. So there's no point bringing it back. And even when we had a break, there was like a 2-month break. It's one of those where I've got guitars at home that I can use. I've got guitars that I can use for other people. So I may as well they're safe. They're in a warm environment. They're not, they're not going to get damaged. So for me,
yeah,
it's to leave them there, and I know sort of where they are, and they'll be well looked after. And I think because of I tend to try and tour with guitars that I wouldn't be massively. I would obviously be upset if something happened and they got stolen, but it's not like. They're replaceable guitars, and with companies like Yamaha as well, they're so awesome that if like I've got a Rev Star that I tour and I used to kind of slide. I'll show you. It's pretty cool actually. With things like that, if something happens to this, then Mark, who's a good friend of mine, he'll be there at the rehearsal with another one, sort of handing it over to me.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
There's big pros with regards to that. So I tend to just leave them with them, and it just makes things a lot easier. Especially you can turn up to rehearsals, get on the train, you don't have to take any gear with you. So it is a big part of being lazy there as well, which I'm a big fan of.
I mean, because getting the train with a Marshall stack or two, I mean, it's hard work. Those doors close quickly. Doors. 2 seconds! I've got 4 more cabs around the corner. Hold the train.
we towed my flight cabs behind the tree. Is that all right? Like,
Amazing. So with the writing process that goes on with a lot of these songs and artists, do you ever get involved in that side of things, or what stage do you typically get involved with some of these artists that you're working now?
So there'll be a bit of writing in there. So with Jessie, I did a little bit of writing with her, and I do a bit with Liam, and I've done bits. There's a producer that works with Sam a lot that I've done some stuff with. So that definitely comes in. That's kind of a trust thing, I think. Like people like Sam and Jessie, they'll work with the like Max Martins of the world. They'll be working with top producers. So for someone like me, it's what the tricky part is. I've sort of been producing as long as I've been playing guitar, but it's because I'm the guitarist. It's difficult to kind of jump, bridge that gap into our produce as well. They're like, well, you're my guitarist. But there'll be moments on the tour bus or whatever where you can kind of get involved. It is, it's one of those where it is very much kind of, I tend to sort of stay in my lane with regards to the kind of guitar side of things. And certainly when you start an act straight up, I'm just a guitarist, and then the more you get to know the artists, and I try and be myself as much as possible with the artists and be as real as possible, and I think that goes a long way. And you can sort of be honest with them and go, I wouldn't sell my, I wouldn't be like, oh, I've got this song that I've written for you. It'll be one of those where so they'll be like, oh, should we do some writing or get your acoustic out? Have you got any chord progressions? And I'll go, yeah, this, try this or whatever. So there is definitely times where I'll do some writing, but I try and not push that too much. And I think that's part of the reason why we kind of get on is because I think that can get quite old quite quick. They tend to sense that insincerity of, oh yeah, I can produce for you and I can write for you. I think that that kind of grabby wantingness. As much as I would love to do that, I tend to try and do what I'm there to do. You know,
yeah, that makes absolute sense. I mean, you know, day one, hey, I've got this great key change. Just hold on, 2 seconds. All right, kill the track. At mid-late, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. I've got something. It's from an old track of mine, but we're gonna drop it in the middle. Anyway, guys, I sent you the MP3. Open your emails. Here we go. Meanwhile, it's just rage all over the stage. Yeah.
The thing is, I've seen people do that, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe you just. Yeah, dude, and like, sometimes it works, but you know, 99% of the time it does not work, and yeah, I would rather, you know, for me now, sort of going back to what we were saying earlier about my career, because I do this for a living now, and I have to pay bills by doing this. I try and look after it as much as possible, and for sure, you know, like stopping a rehearsal to play someone an idea I came up with when I was 12 is probably not.
Yeah. Hot hatches. One final thing that I want to talk to you about before we let you go, and thanks for joining us here. It's been a pleasure chatting and catching up and just hearing the stories and finally talking to you after we've been DMing on Instagram. So thanks for coming on.
You can't get rid of me now. That's it.
No, that's cool. Buds for life. Hot hatches. I mean, my first car was a Clio 182. You know, the little Clio with a 2-liter engine that had horrendous lift-off oversteer that I found out in the rain one time. But seeing your Golf, what generation is that? I mean, I've seen it. Was it on a dyno or something? And it sounded like absolutely was just phenomenal. Really cool sounding. But if you, tell us a little bit about that Golf.
So that Golf for a long time has been one of my favourite things in the world and one of my least favourite things in the world. Like again, I'm so glad you said that because I am such a boy racer petrol head at heart. Like you know, the 182 Clio, that was like dreamland for me. If I could have had one of those, I would have been like the coolest guy. But so that Golf, I bought that Golf about 7 years ago, and it's a Mark 1 GTI, and it's the 1982. Yes, and this is so geeky. It's a BBS model which they didn't make too many of, so it basically means it's got that real 80s kind of square arch stuff. It was factory fitting. So I saw it advertised, and it was about $3,500 and about 7 years ago, and I was like, oh, I really want it. And it was the 1.8 8-valve engine, and I was like, I'm going to buy it. And my wife's like, yeah, buy it. So I bought it, and then drove around with it, and the engine was kind of on the way out. So I thought I'm going to change the engine in it. And yeah, dude, like this is crazy. So the first engine transplant it had a 1.8 turbo 20-valve from a Mark IV GTI Golf put in it, and it never ran right. It was horrible, lumpy. It was sort of bodged in there really, and I didn't pay that much for the conversion, and that's why it wasn't great, because it only cost me like, I think it was like a couple of grand, and it just wasn't a good job. So therefore it sat in a parking space outside of my flat for a long time.
Okay.
And it kind of came around again, and then 3 and a bit years ago there was another company that said they could sort it out for me, and so I gave them the car, and then they got back to me a while later and said, look, what would you say to putting a V6 from an R32 Golf in it? So it was the 24-valve 3.2 litre V6.
Right. And hence that sound that you've got now.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds great to me. You know, it was a massive money pit. I put loads of time, loads of energy into it. And it never ran right. It sat in a garage in Slough for another couple of years. And it wasn't until the end of last year that I got introduced to a guy in Kent who is an absolute genius. His company's called Carbon Motive, and he's a guy called Neil, and he took it on, and within about 3 weeks he basically got into the engine, realized that, so basically what happened with that engine is the engine was from an Audi TT, and they put the ECU, which is like the electronic, the thing that kind of tells into fire and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This and that, and they hadn't disconnected a lot of the sensors. So there was things like a gearbox sensor that was still looking for a gearbox sensor. It was still looking for another like knock sensor, and it just it would just be so lumpy, and it wouldn't rev past 5,000 RPM. This guy Neil got to the bottom of it, and now it runs well. And that's the video you saw on my Instagram, and it's like revving up to like 7,000 RPM, and it's silly. It's I don't know if people like understand powers in cars, but it's got 280 horsepower in something
nice.
that weighs like less than a ton.
Less than a ton. Oh my gosh. So that's a good ratio then, man. Yeah, that's in Newcastle right now. That's not the car to use then with those icy roads. But or maybe it is. Just do like kind of easier. It'll be much easier on the tires to do burnouts and stuff. Yeah, it would be tricky.
I need to sort the brakes out because whenever you touch the brakes, the rear wheels lock up, which is super safe. Like my wife's like, don't. It's one of those. I'm scared of it. I need it to be. When it's sorted, I'm going to come up to Newcastle and we're going to go joyriding.
Sounds perfect to me. Dude, on that note, I think we're going to let you go. Wow, thank you so much for joining us, man. And I love the hot hat story and how you actually got it to the point where it is now, because on that post that I saw, it was absolutely singing. I was like, but I didn't realize you'd been through all that hassle to get it to that point. So my appreciation for that is even bigger. Everybody's seems like you've got lots of new fans here. Everybody's really, really digging you. And don't forget, guys, the links for all of Lewie's socials have been pinging into the chat every 10 minutes, so do follow him on those platforms and go say hi to him. There we go, we've got it up here again. So, man, have a great weekend, and thanks for coming on, man. You're my second guest, and we've taken a little break from the guests, and what a way to kick it back off, man. Really, really appreciate you coming on, and good chatting to you.
Thanks. Oh, mate, Tom, honestly, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a blast, mate. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, well, we'll let you get on. Go have some pizza. You going to have something healthy or not?
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No, I'm going to go and probably have some cold pizza and probably finish off the rest of that snacks there and go and sit in bed awake until about 1 o'clock.
Perfect. That'll be me.
Yeah.
All right, have a good one. Thanks again, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Yeah, you take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye. Whoa! How awesome was that? Let me just clear a couple of things up here. Clear that off. Damn, a lovely guy indeed, right? Oh, you can get these out now as well. That was awesome. Very, very cool. I love those stories, and man, I'm gonna have to watch that back and go over those stories again. So many fun moments. Close this down. All right, get rid of 6 different windows. That sounds good to me. How are you guys doing? How are we doing here, chat? Guys, if you're watching over on Fishman's Facebook or YouTube, I'm Thomas McRocklin. Today we had a very special guest on joining us here, and great interview, Richard. Thank you so much. Maybe I need to work on my interviewing skills a little bit more, but damn, what an easy guy to talk to. Good guy. Love that Yamaha guitar. Did you see that? That flame maple neck? My flame maple Kiesel is downstairs. Definitely giving Lewie a follow. Really great back and forth. Awesome. Nice. I'm gonna plug a guitar in because I'm all jacked up with all those stories. Let's just check this tone. How's that sound? And also, if you fired a question in, sorry if I didn't get to get the question in. They were just zapping past me. Let me tune up a little bit and we'll jam out a little bit. So who's been checking out the new Neural DSP plugin? Has anybody downloaded it yet? Sounds awesome. Thank you, Andy. That's always the way I like to tune up. When your guitar goes sharp, I never loosen it off, as in like come down the way. I always get it to pitch, and right there it's perfect. We'll go for another one that's a bit sharp. Instead of like loosening it, I just bend it, and then bang. Now we need to actually tighten it. So we're always bringing it up to pitch. E, up to pitch. Pull that back a little bit. Watch the vid, haven't downloaded yet. Okay. Stay tuned for my video tomorrow. My video is the best video. But seriously, I was playing with the patches, and I wasn't actually intending on making a patch pack for the plugin. It's just all the sounds I was dialing in were like, that works, save, 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 save. And it's very, very cool. Yeah, I think they knocked it out the park. Really, really cool. And now that I don't need to hide it from you guys, it was so hard because, you know, I've been using this sound for a couple of weeks, right? You guys know I've been using that for a few weeks now, and it was the Gojira plugin all this time. Is there a patch called What's in the Sky? No, they're all just like MCR 1, MCR gain, MCR clean, MCR low gain. I don't know what that is. So tomorrow I might start flipping back and forwards between Granisphere and the Gojira, because to be honest with you guys, I didn't want to actually put the plugin, you know, when I go to my guitar rack, I didn't want to put the plugin on my main here, my main rack, because if I accidentally like went, oh, this is, this is totally different. Like here, for example, I shouldn't rename this. This is not a plexi, but you can see like right there. Hi, there it is. Wrong channel. Yeah, it's very cool. So maybe what we'll do is next week we'll deep dive, go through some of those presets live. Maybe you guys will just tell me what, you know, turn the knob to this, turn the knob. We'll dial in some tones together, and we'll do that. What I might do is on my Twitch channel, I'm going to hang around a little bit longer here, but we've got Greg Koch coming up, I believe, on Fishman's Facebook and YouTube, and I don't want to kind of stop playing tracks, and Mr. Greg is sat there ready to tear it up, and we're streaming Shredwave. So what I'm going to do is close down those two channels, and guys over on YouTube and Facebook, thanks for hanging with us today, and hope you enjoyed the special guest. It was certainly a lot of fun for me, but for now I'm going to say goodbye over on the Facebook and YouTube page. I'll be hanging here on Twitch for a wee bit longer. But yeah, have a great weekend and enjoy Greg's stream. You guys take it easy for now. Goodbye.